As usual, today's video isn't going to be anything spectacular. Pretty much just a normal guy playing Rust, trying to have a good time. My main thing is I like to try different play styles, and I like to build a different base almost every time I play. And usually I don't pre-plan my bases, I like to just improvise and kind of see what happens and deal with the problems that come along with doing it that way. On Thursday, I wasn't able to join right at the start of Wipe, but I was able to join about 2 hours later. I was playing on a community server with about 300 people. This was the third week of the Wipe cycle, and I had played previously, so I already had several blueprints unlocked. I spawned in the far southeast. I wanted to build near Sewer Branch, but it was heavily populated, so I ran back to Outpost to regroup. Given how close Sewer, Dome, and Airfield were to each other, I didn't think I'd be able to progress as a solo in such a dense, highly populated area. I decided to build a little shack on the outskirts of Outpost. I planned for it to just be temporary until I built my main base somewhere else. But, as is common in Rust, things did not quite go according to plan. And my tiny, pathetic Outpost shack grew and actually became my main base. Before the action starts, I just want to show a couple extra details on the map. I've marked my bases, the monument, and neighboring bases. After building my bases, I decided to start farming for about an hour. Little bit too slow. Hola up there.
Hello there!
How you doing?
You killed a naked man.
I did, but he had a lot of stuff on him. I left him his tools.
No man, you killed a naked man. No weapons.
Hi, you need tools? You want tools?
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you man.
You're welcome.
Thank you man.
Unfortunately, while I was trying to fix the audio in this section, I ended up messing up the video. So I missed this part where I went back to try to fight them and gather some of the stuff that they had dropped down in the trap down there. And they ended up killing me. And then shortly after that, they came back with grenades. So that's where we're going to pick up here. So I left the trap base set up for a little while longer, and I did catch a couple more nakeds, but I didn't get any more notable loot. And while it was a lot of fun, I did find it to be pretty stressful, because every time I came back from farming or roaming, while it was exciting thinking about the prospect of maybe there being some loot waiting for me in the trap base, I found it really stressful thinking, oh, there might be a trio who's really pissed off at me, just like lurking here waiting for me to get back. So after that, shortly after that, I just decided to close up the trap base and upgrade the base in other ways and focus on other things. I did, however, make a trophy of one of my trap victims, the guy that I got the P2 from. At this point, what I needed most was high-quality metal. I was rolling in scrap and most other resources and components, but there was a deficit of high-quality metal and SMG bodies. Those were really the two main things I needed. There was a nice route between my bases where there was a tunnel entrance where I didn't actually even need to ride the train. So what I'd do is I'd run up to the entrance near the excavator, and then underground, I would run all the way down to Outpost. And in between those two places, there were 3 areas where the dwellers were dwelling. And so I was able to get quite a bit of loot from those areas. But I should say these tunnel runs weren't without their tragedies, and 2 different times I was viciously murdered after a quite long and seemingly successful tunnel run right at the end and lost all the loot. Nonetheless, I kept at it and did several more runs and ended up having some success. But while I did get a lot of good stuff in the tunnels, I did not get the high quality metal that I was hoping for. And so as I left the tunnels, I was trying to come up with a plan of how I might go about getting that high quality metal. The main reason I needed so much high qual is that I had an interesting idea to expand the base. And in order to do it, I was going to need about 150 more high qual. And really, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm never going to get that much by running tunnels. What I need to do is either start running monuments, start raiding, or go to the high quality excavator. And I did notice a base that was partially raided, and I noticed the TC hadn't been raided, so I figured I may as well go and see if there was any high qual in there. After that, I decided to grab a couple of diesel barrels that I had and ride all the way over to the HQM quarry. And it was a long ride, but it would be worth it if I could get the metal that I needed. And also, I figured that, I've got these diesel barrels, I may as well use them. So I headed over there, but unfortunately, when I got there, somebody had walled off the entire monument, and I looked for a breach or a way that I could build in, and I realized that I could, but I would need a ladder. And so then I had to ride all the way back to my base to craft a ladder, which, not that big a deal, but kind of annoying. So then I rode all the way back to the HQM quarry, and I was probably about a cell away, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these guys with AKs came out and gunned me down. So that ended that operation, and instead I decided to start running sewer and airfield because I had a couple of green cards, so I figured I should use those. Over the last couple years of playing this game, I've realized that I think the most important thing in Rust is knowing what to do and when to do it. And this is a perfect example of I should have known that it's not good to go to the tunnels for high quality metal. It's much better to go to monuments, but I failed to realize that right away, so I spent a lot of time down there, and while it wasn't totally unproductive, I still got some stuff, it wasn't what I was looking for. So I try to always just think to myself, when I'm about to do something in Rust, is this the right time to do this thing? And it's hard to know sometimes because there's so much in Rust to learn and know about that it's almost impossible to always know the best thing in every situation. But that's kind of what I'm focusing on, is just trying to be knowledgeable and then applying that knowledge at the right time. What up, dudes?
Hey, could I buy that Tommy Winter?
How much you offering?
I'll give you whatever you need. Hold on, let me see what I got. So I've got 178 scrap, 400 low grade, 62 crude, 1,000 metal frags, 500 cloth.
Any high qual?
11. I got 68 high qual.
Ooh. How much of that would you be willing to give?
All of it.
Alright. You got a deal. Give me just 1 second.
There's your high qual.
I gotta juggle my inventory here real quick. Give me just a second.
Hey, you got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I ended up playing until Tuesday and then deciding to call it a wipe because I got busy with other things. And that's pretty much the end of the action, but there are a few other things I wanted to show you. For those who are interested, I'll give a little base tour. I realized I hadn't shown the stable base at all, so I wanted to start by just showing that. It's nothing too special, but it worked well for me. One quick thing I do want to mention about horses. I love horses as a solo. I rely on them pretty heavily, but they did change something recently, and it makes it a little bit harder to deal with horses in a base specifically. It's very easy to get trapped between the wall and your horse, and then you're forced to either suicide or kill the horse. So hopefully they'll fix this soon, but in the meantime, what I recommend is like don't get off your horse near a wall. Get off it in the middle of a room and then lead it over to wherever you want to take it, like the trough or whatever. So my other backup base was upgraded to all metal and had 5 garage doors. It worked really well, and it was kind of in this little valley where you couldn't really see it very easily unless you were right up on it, so I think that's part of what saved it from being raided. For my main base, I did a few things that were kind of unconventional and fun and interesting to me. The first thing is that you may have noticed, but I don't have a jump up to the second floor. And instead I have 2 front doors, like a front door for the bottom floor and a front door for the top floor. And this is partly because of poor planning, and I mentioned at the start of the video that I didn't really plan on building here. I didn't really think it would ever get as big as it was gonna get. But once it became clear that this was gonna be my more permanent home, I decided to just kind of go with these oddities and make them as useful as possible in terms of security and just functionality. So not having a jump up was a little bit safer way for me to place a trap base like on top of my base. That way, you know, if somebody were to get like really mad, they might think like, oh, I'm just gonna blow all the way in here and then go down. But, you know, they would hopefully, you know, just blow all the way in and then not have enough to actually go through the ceiling. One of the strategies I usually try to embrace when I'm building is I want my base to be really secure, but I don't want it to look like a Chad base. Like, I want it to have a little bit of a noob kind of a vibe to it, so that people sort of think it's like weird and might be either not worth it to raid or might be a pain to raid because it's not conventional or easy to figure out what the best raid tactic would be. So like having the 2 front doors and then also having the little community room with the shop fronts out there, I think, you know, that probably makes people just think like, what is this guy doing exactly? One of the oddest things about this base is that I decided to blow up the TC on the first floor and move it to the second floor. And I just figured, you know, it would make it a little bit more confusing. I figure most raiders would assume that TC is going to be on the first floor. The other reason is I felt like in a lot of ways the second floor was actually more secure. And that's because it started off as a trap base, and so due to the shape of it, it allows me to put in a lot of really tricky traps. And on top of that, I was able to build some kind of creative little shooting floor rooms. So I thought if I were to get online raided, it might be a little bit easier to defend the TC up there. Miraculously, I am recording this early on Thursday morning and can report that my main base has not been raided. I have not checked my other bases, I just don't have time or the will to run over there right now, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with not getting raided. I actually have a little streak going, and I'm sure it will end soon, and I'm jinxing myself by even mentioning it. As the video closes out with this tour of the second floor and the peaks and the traps and all that good stuff, I just want to say thank you very much for watching. This is the first time I've done something quite like this before, and the main reason I did it is just as a distraction. I've been going through a little bit of a rough time lately, and that's one thing I love about Rust, and one thing I love about creative projects is that if you're going through something tough, video games and creativity are a great way to cope. At least for me, they have been. Really, I just wanted to do something fun and kind of lighthearted and ultimately meaningless. So here you go. Thanks for participating in the meaninglessness with me.
Nothing to do